Hi, gang, and welcome to Behind the Rhinestones. I am your host, Dinah Dare, and here I'm interviewing some of the top stars of burlesque and cabaret. If you are enjoying these interviews, please do like and subscribe as there is a new interview dropping for you every single Sunday. Today we have another wonderful performer with us. Please welcome to the show, Merlin Grey. Hi, Merlin. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm very excited. And just honored to have like even been considered to be here. So I'm just like me. So I'm
I
very
love I absolutely adore how floppy your hair is. I think I'm slightly obsessed with it already because you said me
I,
and your hair was like, "Wah."
yeah, I am very lucky with the hair. While I still have it, because it's gonna go, but while I still have it, I love it.
Rocket. I adore that. Um, Before we actually get into it, I saw something literally like 30 minutes ago before we came on this call, and it was so sweet. I just wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah.
You reshared a thing from Pride, and you were like, "Oh, I was really happy to be involved," and I just thought that was really sweet. So I was just going to ask, how was one, what Pride was it? Because I can't remember because I literally saw it on Facebook and my brain doesn't just didn't pick it all up. And two, what was it? How was it? Was it a good experience?
Oh my gosh. So it was Chichester Pride. And I was contacted by the beautiful Dawn Gracie a while ago. It was just that, I'm really keen to have like an AFAB King. So, would you do some lip sync? And I was just like, well, to be honest, like as a performer, usually I take the clothes off or I do live vocal. So I have done like prize before and I'll do like a live vocal. And she was, and I'm really keen to do lip sync. So I was like, oh, challenge accepted, because I want to learn, I want to grow, and
Yeah.
I was really keen. Like if you look at most pride lineups, unfortunately AFAB people are just not really shown much at all. And then certainly when you then go into AFAB masks and the non-binary folk and the lesbians, and it we're just not really represented at all, really. So when I was given the opportunity, I was like, oh yeah, like I want to be that trans man, I want to be that AFAB representation, alternative representation as well. So I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I was like, right, I'm not a lip syncer, but I do some lip sync at Their Majesties, which is the show that we do once a month in Croydon. But I was trying to think about it, and I was like, actually, all of those are very specific to that event or to Croydon. And obviously, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not in Croydon, so I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And I was like, okay, me and one of the other hosts, we did a cover of Telephone, Lady Gaga, and we changed it. And we did it as a complete surprise to Shepherd's Bush, my wife, and we we found voice notes that she's left us over the last year, just really random stuff, and we've
Mm-hmm.
kind of injected it into the song, so it would just go leave a message after the beep, and then she'll be like, hey guys, do you want a salad? Well, I was given some salads 20 minutes ago and they're very healthy salads, so if you'd like a salad, or like there's one I think it was like, and I just really fucking need a banoffee pie, or was it like really stupid stuff. And that's the stuff I love. So I was like, you know what? I'll do that. We'll cut. So Mary very kindly retweaked the track to take her part out of it. And then I sent it and I was like, okay, I can do a Telephone. I've got a cover already. Because again, I'm not an 8 foot drag queen that can do death drops. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be a story. There has to be levels, there has to be some kind of funny element or something to keep the crowd engaged, because I
Mm-hmm.
can't shablam my way through. I just can't. So I sent it and then she was like, oh no, so we have like a Lady Gaga tribute act. Born Gaga, I think they're fantastic. So you can't do
Okay.
any Lady Gaga. And I was like, that was my one song. That was the one thing. Panic. So I was like, okay, cool. Is it okay if I do Bohemian Rhapsody? She was like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. I was like, great, because that's a big old chunk of 15 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
I know it back of my hand, fine. Um, and then I was thinking about it. And then the month before Their Majesties, sorry, I've really segued into all of these.
No, no, it's fine. Go for it. I love it.
Um, yeah, we at Their Majesties. my Shepherd's Bush is the founder of Their Majesties. It's been going for 3 years, and we're now rotating hosts because of budgets. And it was her first ever time at Their Majesties not hosting. And it was an interesting thing because it was like, actually, you've created this space, this lifeline, this environment, this family. You've never actually experienced it. You've always hosted, you've always performed it. So I was very, very keen, because normally the third person, if they're not performing, would then do like tech or kittening or whatever. But I just said to her, I was like, no, you sit there and I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to experience Their Majesties, because you just never have. And I spoke to Mary, and I said, Mary, right, we've got an opportunity. Like, why don't, because me and Mary both got into performing through Their Majesties. So she's given us so many opportunities. Why don't we do a bit of a tribute? So we decided to do like a night of 1,000 bushes, and we both, for our solos, did like iconic Shepherd's Bush numbers. And the first one, and we didn't tell her, we even came up with a fake running order and sent it to her, because she's misorganized, she's misadmin, and she will know. So we came up with like completely different tracks, put them in, and then at the last minute swapped them out, a completely different running order, and then slipped the landlady a different one. It was a lot. It was so worth it though. And I just said to Mary, I was like, right, the only thing I will ask from you is, can you record her face for me doing the first number? Because we purposely didn't tell the audience what we were doing. And when she introduced my first number, she said, you know, like, I've purposely been told not to say what this is. We're just going to go with it. This is Merlin the Grey. And you could hear people in the audience go, oh my God, this is going to all know, because I've done some weird stuff. And so Shepherd's Bush is actually, she's not a drag queen, she's a drag sheep.
Okay.
Her bread and butter number is Trouble. And I don't know if you remember the old memeable Trouble, where it's like goats coming in. So she does that, but as a sheep, and she eats flowers, and it's a whole thing. So that was my first number. Set one, didn't say that, and it came out as a little sheep, ate some flowers. It was really, really cute. And then, so when I was coming up with, which is surprise, she said, well, I can lend it to you. You can do Trouble. So I was like, okay, that's track number 2 sorted. And, you know, I made a point in speaking in between, because again, I was quite aware that I think I was one of the only trans representation in the lineup. And I just really, you know, with the Supreme Court and everything, I was very, very keen to say some words, not drag everything down, but to be like, you know what, the world is actually really fucking scary right now. And, you know, it's really powerful that we are a married T4T couple. And, you know, I just said, this is a tribute to my wife that has done so much for the trans community, for the queer community. And they loved it. I loved it. It was fantastic. It was just really good fun. And then the first that I was like, I've always wanted, because obviously I'm Merlin the Grey. I've always wanted to do a little wizard number, a little sorcerer number, sorcerer. And I was like, you know what? The time is now. So I made, because it was going to be Wizard Burlesque, but I decided to do lip sync instead. And it was really fun to really be very creative and do something I don't normally do. I was really nervous, because trying to make people laugh and keep people's attention through lip sync is an art form. It's really, really difficult. It's so much easier. Like yes, you have to remember the vocal, the lyrics, which I do struggle with a little bit, but you can usually get them on side, even if you're not the best focus. I'm certainly not. So with a lip sync, it's really hard. So I was really glad that it worked. I got to be a complete silly Billy. And then, yeah, I said myself, you know, like about being a family, being a community, and everyone in the Pride by the last bit of my set was with me, and we did Bohemian Rhapsody. And I just said, right, there's no gags, there's no props, I just want you to feel this as a family, and I just want you to just be with each other and to just let go for 5 minutes. And it was so cute, and I was like trying to hold back manly tears, because it was. And then one of the flowers that because I bite the flowers and I throw them in Trouble, someone had come forward and then given me back one of the flowers at the end of Bohemian Rhapsody. And I was like, I was a mess, I was in so much pain, I was so tired, and I was like, hold it together, Merlin, hold it. Oh my god, I'm gonna ugly cry in front of everyone. Like, don't do it. So I just put it behind my ear, and I don't do anything because I would have, and I just turned away. And I walked away because like my face, I'm going, but I'm like, no. So that's what it is. If you look at the video, there's a video on my Instagram where I walk away and I think I shake my little tail as like a little bit of a thing. But I was just like, that is so special. That is so, and it's one of the best shows I've ever done. And you know, I've applied for a few prides, and unfortunately, they kind of see what else I do, and then they go, nope, I don't want to go near it. And I'm like, but also no, because actually, pride is for everyone in the community, and actually please don't question my professionalism. I know what's appropriate and what's not and where, and like it upset. Like there was one event that's coming up next month that someone literally emailed in to say, like, you know, I was unsafe and that anyone associated with the kink and fetish communities doesn't belong in pride and things like this. And it's just like,
I'm sorry.
what?
Anyone who belongs in the kink and fetish community doesn't belong in pride.
That's what they said. And
are we going to ignore that that's a majority of like
have you met like anyone?
Like I literally go, the local gay bar in Glasgow that I perform in a lot has like pups just wandering around with their masks on and shit. They have a fetish weekend where everyone like that.
I remember.
I'm struggling, Merlin. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't understand. And also, how did he even know who I am? Like, my Instagram shadow banned. So
you're like, how did you even find me?
I was a bit like, me? Am I the drama? Is this me? They specifically said me out of everyone in the lineup. But yeah, I was just like, wow. Because yeah, when I posted it on the stories, you're right, everyone was just like, have they been living under a rock? And funny as well is the stuff that I do, yes, there's elements, but it's not that bad. Like it's really no. It's really not that bad.
People, I don't understand that. Are you finding this is we're just skipping all the fluff and going straight into the fucking brutal stuff. But we'll come back to the fluff, I promise. But are you finding, obviously, with the political climate that is a fucking shit show, let's just straight up acknowledge that, are you finding that you are getting more backlash, you are getting more people being shit, let's be honest, or are you finding the opposite where trans men tend to just get ignored?
I'm gonna say both. It's yes, we are ignored, we're just not spoken about. And the thing is, you know, it does have an impact because, you know, if they're saying that trans women aren't allowed in women's spaces, they're then saying that trans men aren't allowed in men's spaces. And it is just as like, so by default you're saying that you'd rather I was in a bathroom with you. And you know, absolutely you would be 100% safe, of course you would, because I'm a nice guy and it's just not what we do. But it's just it just blows my mind. It's just that you're just, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. See, that one, when that came out, I was like, right, okay, so hold on. A trans man can go into a women's toilet. How do you know they're a trans man? How do you not know it's just not a man? Like, also, my argument is always, I know someone who went to a club, unfortunately, went to the bathroom, a man followed her in and assaulted her. That fucking happens no matter who you allow into the bathroom.
So what breaks my heart about this whole situation is that it stems from a very real fear, and that fear is of cis men. You know, I'm not going to say it's all cis men that do these things, but let's be honest, it is the majority. And as you rightly said, unfortunately, they don't need a disguise. They'll just do it, and they do it, and they keep doing it because they get away with it. And as you said, you've just given them more power, because a cis man can then go into the women's bathroom and say, I'm a trans man. How are you going to dispute that? And to be honest, they don't need to do any of that. And you know, the vast majority of people that I know in my life, like I'm going to say mostly AFABs and trans women, have had some kind of experience of SA or rape or all sorts, and it's either directly at them or other people. So that fear is so real, and I'm not going to take that away from someone. It's just completely directed at the wrong people. It's completely nothing to do with trans women. They just want to pee. They just want to live their life. Cis men don't need any more power. Unfortunately, you've just given them more. Yeah. So it's devastating. And when the news dropped, like, I went to one of the protests, and my wife made a decision to stay at home, and I absolutely completely agree, because obviously I said to her, this is a completely directed attack at the trans femme community. So this is the time that the rest of us need to step up, and we need to protect you. Please stay at home, because we've had situations with the police before. They can be really horrible. We just don't want to give them any more excuse, and it's not their fight. Everyone else needs to, and that's why it's so important that the mascs and the cis people allies, we really step up and help, because it's brutal. It's getting worse, and it just breaks my heart, because we're such a tiny percentage of the population, and we're just not doing anything to anyone. We just want to be a little bit more comfy in our bodies. Life is short. Ultimately, we just want to get through it. We all do. It doesn't matter who's peeing in the cubicle next to you, as long as you're safe. And yeah, trans women have just never been the problem. So yeah, I've had more backlash in association with that, but also more support, because people are seeing what we've been trying to warn people. This isn't new. So people are actually waking up. They're actually seeing it, and they're actually being more allies, and they are, I think, for the most part, being more, even just like little things, like being a little bit more proactive with their casting. Like, do we have any trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming people in our lineups, queer people in our lineups? And that's really important. Like, that's like my number one motive as a performer, is to be that representation that I wish I had when I was a kid. Well, not a kid, obviously, I'm 18, but like,
yeah, you wouldn't be there, shows that.
When I grew up, like, I didn't know what trans was.
Yeah.
Being gay was very much a slur and very much an insult. Didn't really speak. I was bullied quite a lot for being trans, but I didn't really know why. So I used to be like, oh, I'm a tomboy, because that's the language I had. So now it's my job to make sure that the next generation don't have to do with that. What's the point? Unless we're making things better for the next generation, what's the point?
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's the way that you're going about doing that, like being at Pride, being there representing, just living your life does so much for that.
It's about being visible.
Yeah.
And just, if only one person in that audience feels a little less alone and a little less lost, it's worth it.
Yeah. Have you found a place in burlesque and cabaret that you feel that you can be fully you?
I've very, very lucky that I've kind of accumulated over the time, like what I'd say with my burly family members. And what breaks my heart is the majority of them don't live in London. But we do have like WhatsApp groups, and we're really supportive of each other. And I've met some really amazing people, and there's like, for example, one of my biggest inspirations is McCyanide, and I know you've spoken to them. Really paving the way for us trans masks, and I've got so much respect for them, and also just the best bean. Just absolutely love them. So I don't know, I just feel like whenever I go to any show, I've never really had any problems when it comes to my transness or any issues. I think because I am so visible and I am so honest, people kind of know what they're getting with me. And for the most part, it's been well received. I do mention that I'm trans in my bio as well, because again, it's about being visible and having that representation. But I also don't want it to be like the only thing. I don't want to just be like that token, oh yeah, I'm a trans man, so that's why I'm here. I would like to be seen as a performer within my own right as well.
Have you ever felt that you're the token?
A couple of times. Just because I don't know, there's just vibes, and a lot of it can be the place in the country. So for example, Brighton, I'm very, very comfy. And there's been other places where we've not felt as safer. In the venue, we're usually fine, but if
Mm-hmm.
we go out and about and we've had to stay somewhere, especially as I said, we are T4T, and also that kind of means like, so separately, we're very lucky that we both do pass. We do have passing privilege, but together we kind of out each other sometimes because we kind of showcase each other's like, so wait, why is he so small? Wait, like, um people, and especially because things are getting so much more spoken about in the news. I had this conversation recently that I've actually cancelled my swimming subscription because people will now kind of know what my scars mean, whereas before they would just just say I had some heart surgery or whatever, and they wouldn't necessarily know. But now
Yeah.
they're gonna see this short ass curvy guy with these scars across it. They know what that means.
Yeah.
So I can't. I have had people I had this man that followed me in the locker room and waited for me for about half an hour outside of the cubicle. And I ended up having to call my wife to call the people to sort, because I was trapped. And then that was kind of the last line anyway. And then I cancelled the subscription to have surgery, and then I just with the thing that happened, I was like, I can't take that risk. But also, it's just
That's
I
fucking
just
brutal.
I just want to be able to go for a swim.
Yeah. That's insane.
So now I'm really trying to see if we can set up some kind of like trans inclusive swimming sessions in Croydon.
That would
Um,
be so lovely.
so I'm going to just start contacting pools and just be like, I know that it's difficult, but is there a way that we can maybe close off the pool for an hour, and then just anyone that needs that space can have that? Because I am lucky, I've had top surgery. There's a lot of people out there that haven't, and they want to be able to swim as well. So yeah, it's, for the most part we've been okay, but sometimes it is in the back of our minds as different locations and how I'm treated by producers. It can be quite obvious that, like, if you look at the other performers and they're fairly cookie cutter,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just me, and then you have to go, why is it just me that's not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas diversity isn't always about gender, it's not always about sexuality. So as long as there's diversity as a whole across the cast, then I feel fairly safe, because I'm like, okay, you're doing this for the right reasons, you're representing everyone. But yeah, if it's like everyone here is and I'm the only one here, and they make a bit of
It's
a dance about it, it's like,
it's all skinny white girls and then you.
yeah. And it's just like, it helps me in that I'm different and people like something that's different, but also I don't necessarily want to. I just want to be a performer in my own right and hang out with people like me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very hit and miss.
I
But
can
for the
imagine.
most part, everyone has been lovely. I've just been having the best time. I've had so many adventures and met so many people, and just I just love it. I just love it. I just love everything about it.
Let's talk about some of that then. So, how did you get into it?
So it was completely by accident.
Love it.
Yeah, so it all, I'm going to be speaking about Their Majesties a lot, and I'm really, really sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's my origin story. So I don't know. I've had a few. Life didn't give me the best hand. I've had a lot of very, very serious like losses and care and responsibilities, and like there's been a lot, and it's meant that I've not been able to come out until I was like nearly 30. I was in a relationship with a terminally ill partner. We were together for 9 years, and so he was a straight man, and obviously at the time I was presenting female. And I kind of felt in my heart, I knew that I was trans. I knew that there was something, but I couldn't, because I didn't want him to die alone, and I loved him, and so I kept it hidden. And then I actually came out to him towards the end, and he just said, "Look, mate, I just want you to be happy." And I know full well that if he wasn't terminally ill, we'd still be best friends, and
Yeah.
he would be 100% happy. And I've even got like an envelope. I went to my parents, he sent me something, he put Merlin, and like it's so I know that he is accepting of me, but I just felt like this isn't about me. At the time, like, I was the only family member dealing with my granddad that was dying, and this is during lockdown. And then my partner died a year after. So I was like, I don't have time to be dealing with my gendered nonsense. I just gotta get on with it.
That's a lot.
A lot.
That's a lot.
And we're not even there's a lot. Yeah. I'm pretty messed up. Life
I
has been
mean, you're in cabaret, babe, so yeah.
there's a reason, you know what I mean? We're all there's a reason we're in it. So anyway, he passed away. And then I was like, okay, you know what? For the first time, Merlin, we're gonna do something for me. Because I've been a carer since I was 6. My mum died when I was 9. There's been all sorts, and I've just never ever been able to dedicate anything to me. It's all been about, and that's fine. I don't have any regrets. They needed me. Step up. That's what family does. So I was like, you know what? So I came out. I chose the name Merlin. I went on hormones, and I used my inheritance from my granddad to get my top surgery. And oh my god, when I tell you, so much happier. Just it was the best thing I've ever done in my life. But I kind of just I was like, right, I've got a kind of new identity. You know, very much exploring my queerness, my bisexuality, my transness. Where do I go? What do I do? And it was like I'd go into Soho a couple of times, which is great, but getting home was ball ache. And then we got the wrong train home once, and we ended up in like Oxford at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was a lot, and it was never really worth it. And then someone was like, "Hey, so there's a drag show in Croydon called Their Majesties." And I was like, "What?" And I didn't even know that the pub existed, because it's kind of like in a residential street, so you wouldn't go past it. So I was like, okay. So I went with my friend at the time, May, and I was outside pacing for about 20 minutes. I was like, I don't know if I can go. I'm really scared. Like I've got quite a lot of social anxiety, new crowd, new identity, and I think I'd only been on hormones for 6 months or 8 months at a time. So I was like, I was kind of in the Frankenstein phase where you're starting to pass, but you don't really. And then yes, I went in, and instantly I just felt this connection, like I was home. And it was packed, and it was, I think it's a Halloween special, and the shepherd's bush was being Ursula and whacking people with fish and all sorts of chaos. And I was completely smitten. I was completely smitten. And you know, someone in the audience who still is, they are always there at TM, and I'm so happy they're there, called Louis. And they came up to me and just, you know, actually they did say that I was like the hottest person in the club. So
Oh.
I'm just gonna put that out there. But they saw me, and they were like, "So who are you? This is the TM family. This is what we do. This is chaos." And then May said, "That shepherd's bush keeps looking at you, Merlin." And I was like, "No, she's not looking at me. She's not looking at me. No." And then May was like, "You need to go up and speak to shepherd's bush and get a picture with her." And I was so scared. I was so scared, and I was just like, "Okay, okay." And I had a few, and then May pushes me up to shepherd's bush for a photo, and she was, "Oh my god, how are you?" You know, and got to know each other. It's really sense of community and family. And then I was like, right, I'm hooked now. I'm gonna have to keep coming. So the next in November, Shepherd's Bush comes up to me and goes, "Right, we do a drag nativity every month, every year, and I want you, and I've written this role specifically. I want you to be my donkey." So I was like, okay. So I got myself a pair of ears and a tail, and she said, "Get the biggest cucumber you can find and get it down your pants, and I'm going to make a load of dick jokes. You know, you're a trans man, we're going to go in." And I was just like, this is great. And so it's my first ever time really in front of a crowd, an audience. It's so minute, but it meant a lot.
Yeah.
And then in March, for Trans Day of Visibility, they do an all trans plus cast. And at the time, there wasn't many trans masks. So, you know, me and Shepherds had kind of got quite friendly, and we're like texting and stuff. And she was like, "Would you consider performing?" because we don't really have many people in that side of the community. It was more on the femme side at that time. Now you can throw a rock and find a T-boy. There's so many. But back then, so yeah, I was like, well, I'm not a performer. I don't. What do you want me to do? I don't sing. I don't dance. I barely got through GCSE drama. Like, that's it. It's just like, have you considered burlesque? And I kind of like, huh, okay, yeah, that sounds like fun. So let's give it a go. And I was in some like awful next clearance suit, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I got myself some like Kylie Minogue hot pants and a trans flag. It was terrible. It was terrible. And I performed Devil, which was my first ever burlesque number, by Shinedown, and that was kind of it. They were like, actually, you're kind of good at this. Like, do you want to come back and we'll pay you as a performer? And I was like, oh, why not? Again, life is short, and I know this firsthand. Like, you know how shit things can be. You have to live while you can.
Yeah.
So Merlin the Grey was born, and we're about to celebrate his 2-year anniversary in a few days. And that was when the priest character first appeared, but it was a different song, and I've learned a lot since then, and I've really created the character more. But yeah, that's kind of like, it was just complete by accident. I just happened to go to the show and got the bug, and
You're like, oh, I tripped and fell into burlesque.
and then it was the best thing, and it's completely changed my life. And
Mm.
obviously now that Ursula is now my wife, and everything has changed, and I've really gained a family. After you've lost so many people, and most of my relatives don't speak to me for whatever reasons. So it's really enforced that chosen family, and it's really created something special, and it's been a lifeline. It's really what's kept me going. And then to have the opportunities outside of TM, when and I still get a little goosebumps every time anyone like accepts a casting call. And I'm like, oh my God, you've chosen me, like, to come down, and that's incredible. And I'm so grateful. And the people I've met have been just fantastic. I just love everyone, and I just love having a good time. And it's yeah, that's it. It was an accident.
I love that. How did you, so obviously, like, that's how you started, and you've grown so much that, like, you've done competitions and you've got accepted into other. What did you do to grow your skills?
I think it was just like practice as I go, and it really was just, I'm just going to throw myself in, and I don't, there's a lot of shows that I look and I go, I know they're not going to accept me, but I'm going to apply, because even if they recognize the name, if they then recognize that name, and then people start to go, oh, I know, yeah, I've heard about that Merlin, and yeah, no, and then people are then more likely to take a chance, because if people, it is a gamble sometimes when you, because I've seen performers where they're viral on TikTok or TikTok or whatever they call it, but they not great live,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They know how to, some people are very good at branding and social media.
yes, whereas like I'm trying with the branding thing, and I am lucky in that I am a little bit different for the most part, which has helped a lot. But I must admit, I'm not very good at social media. I still don't understand it. I just don't. Every time I think I've sort of figured it out, it throws me another curveball, and I'm like,
Oh, it changes. It changes all the time.
what do you want from me? And I'm now like, I've been banned from going live on my Instagram for a year. So that seems a bit much.
That's a bit much. What did you do?
I don't know. I think one of my stories had been taken down or something. It was like, right, you're not allowed to go live for a year now. What?
Wild. Wild.
So, I just kind of just invested myself, and then just threw myself at everything, and then any opportunity. And then the thing is, it's all knock-on effects, and it was just like, I applied stupidly to Burlesque Idol thinking that I had the audacity to do so, but they accepted me. I was, oh my God, what? And that was like my 4th ever time performing, or something like that. And then I got runners up, and then I shared the lineup with Autumn on my days, who is the best person, and I love her so much. I can't even deal. I love her. She's family. I love her. And then she was like, "Hey, come over and bop with us in Cambridge." I was like, "Great!" So we went over to Cambridge, and then Pixie Sticks and my daddy Fox were in the audience, and that's how I met them. And then they're like, "Hey, come over to Lincoln," and it all just spider webs. And really, it is just a case of just give it a go, because the worst that they can say is no. And then you go, you from it, you adapt, and actually you aren't for every show. That's fine, absolutely fine.
Yeah,
But
not everyone's for every show.
just got to go for it.
I know that you did Star Search. How
Mm-hmm.
was that?
That was great. I mean, I was so excited. I was so nervous because it was quite a big deal, and actually there was a bit of drams from my side of that, because I applied, I got in, I was like, great, because there was some performers there that I've really wanted to work with, so I was really, really excited. And I've never been to Doncaster. I've never, it's just I'm really excited. The judges.
Yeah.
I thought, networking, and then I've been waiting a very, very long time for my hysterectomy, and I got a phone call to be like, hey, it's your turn. Can you do the 1st of March? I was like, okay. I mean, hell yeah, I need yes, absolutely, please get this stuff out of me. Fine. Mm-hmm. And actually, it was weird because it's the same date that my top surgery was, ironically. So I was like, it's fake, it's all good. So I sent Tawny an email. I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, thank you so much for accepting me, but I have to have the surgery. And they were completely understanding. It was great. And then, because the luck of the old Merlin, I went into anaphylaxis during the surgery. So I went under, they did one incision, and then they were like, oh, I noticed that my whole body had gone into a rash. And then I stopped breathing for 30 minutes. And my wife was like, obviously, she was in a cafe, she's expecting me to be out for a couple of hours. She gets a phone call from the surgeon. She's like, oh my God. And the surgeon was like, you safe, sit down. He's not breathing. There's a good chance he's not going to make it through. You need to come back. So that was a whole thing. And then obviously, I was asleep, I didn't know. And I woke up in ICU with a million tubes in me and, things. And it was, not nice. And Ringo, who is the best nurse ever, was like, hey, Mr. Goldencoilo, we've had a bit of an incident. We couldn't do the surgery. And I was like, oh. So yeah, they made the decision, but decided that it was unsafe for me to do the rest of it. And so, yeah, that really battered me. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty grueling. And I ended up staying there for a few days because I had like a fever and other complications and stuff. So I did not have a good time. I was very upset, but then I spoke to Sweet Peach, who was like, hey, I can speak to Tawny and get you back on the lineup. So I was like, yeah, like, I don't want to be a pest. I don't want to change things. Diana! Get the shouting. I told you she'd make an appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, pest. And yes, so they added me back out. They said, we didn't replace you, like, come and join us. I was like, okay, it did. But it was my first performance, like, after that whole thing, and it was actually only 3 weeks after. So I was really, really unwell. So I was really grateful to still be accepted. Everyone was super lovely. And I'm proud of the performance. It wasn't my best, but considering I'd nearly died, I was proud that I was even still there. And again, like as I said before, like there was actually someone that waited for me after Star Search, and it was another trans man, and just shook my hand and just said thank you for that representation. It was just really nice to see me in someone. And so yeah, it was so worth it. And some of the other people that I worked with are just fantastic, and we're still like chatting. And yeah, I feel I'm going to slow down a little bit on the competitions, but they are a good way to get exposure. So yeah, it was worth it. But it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. Just my luck.
Well, you got through it, so it's fine. That's fine. You mentioned earlier that you do a bit of singing as well.
Loosely, yes. I hold a microphone and I hope for the best. So with Their Majesties, so we actually, because it's monthly and we have an incredibly high return customer. Like there are people from Croydon that just need space to be themselves. It's not ticketed, it's completely free because it is a safe space, and if there's money in the way, it's not a safe space. So it's very much for the community by the community. And it's meant that we as hosts have to come up with new stuff every single month. It's not like the rest of the burlesque scene or cabaret scene where you can kind of recycle numbers. We do, obviously, so actually it's been about 6 months, bring it back in, not a problem. But besides that, not really. And so we have to come up with about 6 numbers a month, and we have to learn. It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. I love it because with like when I tell you I'm always listening to music, and I'm always coming up with ideas, and again it's that neurospicy need to create and we need an outlet. So Their Majesties has really very much been that outlet, and it's been so special. But it means I was like, what do I do? Yeah, I was like the resident burlesque performer, but it gets boring, and I also don't want to take away the respect of the art form of burlesque by being like, I guess I could strip and be a fireman this month. Like whenever I do something, there has to be some kind of story, some kind of message, or an intention behind it. So I was like, I'm gonna have to just start singing because I'm not a lip syncer really. There's only so much burlesque I can do there. So that's kind of how that happened. And then I did my first ever rendition of Sweet Transvestite at Their Majesties, and it was a big moment for me to allow myself to do that, because I'd always been so hesitant, thinking, what if I just see a woman again in that clothing? But actually it was so affirming, because that's a big old man in a corset. And I was so scared about singing because, again, I've had no training, I'm not a singer, I've got zero experience. But I was like, you know what, Sweet Transvestite is all about attitude. It's not about your voice. All about the attitude. And then it kind of took off, and I started getting booked to do Sweet Transvestite. And then but for the most part, I just do the singing at Their Majesties, and it's a lot of fun. One of my favorite things is to like change lyrics to make them funny, to make them very Croydon specific. That I love that. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I do kind of sing, but usually if it's outside of Their Majesties, it's usually just Sweet Transvestite. Or I've done, last year I sang on Croydon High Street, which is odd because I'm born and raised in Croydon. I'm like, oh no, I'm on the high street singing to the public. And I just did all the bangers that everyone knows. I did like an ABBA medley and Don't Stop Believing and all of this sort of cheese that I love, they love, and we just felt it. And as I said, sometimes it's not about being the best, it's about how you make people feel.
Yeah. If it's good fun, it's good fun.
Good fun is good fun. So yeah, but my Bush isn't known for her vocals, should we say? But she's one of the best hosts on the circuit by a mile, and I'm not even saying that because she genuinely is, and she's a fantastic lip syncer. She's a pop queen. Mary is just batshit. I don't even know what else to say. Like every time they say that they're going to do something, I don't know what to expect, and I've learned not to expect anything because it never is what I think. I just like, what am I watching?
Just show up and be like, cool, let's go.
Let's go. And like when I'm having a bit of a moment, I do rewatch videos and things, and my comfort videos are Mary videos, because it's just unhinged. It's just like there's one of my favorite ones is them singing Joyride. And I can't even describe it, you'd have to watch it, because they said they were going to sing it, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, and I think you can see in one of the videos I'm literally on the floor on the side dying.
Amazing.
So I bring like the alternativeness and so we kind of try and balance each other.
Sounds like it works.
It works.
You sort of you touched on obviously wanting to show respect to the burlesque art form. What in your opinion, and we will always caveat these things with your opinion,
Mhm.
makes a good burlesque performance or performer?
I mean, for me, I kind of like all aspects. And I just, if the person is really connecting with the art that they're perceiving, I will connect. And,
Mm,
as I said before, for me, how is that person making me feel?
yeah.
And is that the intention of what they're wanting to do? And if there's, if it's a super serious number, if it's a funny number, if it's a sexy number, if it's, I don't care what it is, as long as it means something to them and they've
Mm,
connected with the audience and they've captured my attention and I understand their story, I understand why they're doing it, or, just some beautiful fan work, or, there's so much. But for me, it's about creativity, it's about what makes them them, what makes them
mhm.
unique. um, you can tell sometimes I feel that, I've been to school and I've been taught how to remove the glove of this way, so that's what I'm going to do. And that's absolutely great. And that needs to be a foundation. But for me, it's you need that spark of what makes you you. And
Yeah.
why are you doing it? What is the intention behind it? What is your message? So the standout ones for me have always been that, like, how has that person made me connect, especially with the amount of shows we've seen and the amount of performers we've seen. There are some crossovers, but
Yeah.
also I love, like, I do a priest character, and by all means, it's not original, but I like to see what other people do with that theme. And it's like, oh, I didn't think of
Mhm.
that, and oh, I wish I'd thought about that, and oh, that's amazing. But it's never competitive. I don't like any of this competitive bullshit. You can do the same as long as it's not completely copying. You
Yeah.
can absolutely be inspired by people, and you should never be bringing people down to make you no, none of that. So, like, for me, that's what it is. But there's been a couple of wow moments and a couple of, like, gosh. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I prefer the community, grassroots. This is my friend that just wants to give it a go. That's what I love,
That's
you know.
what what you touched a bit about there, like you do have some performers that inspire you. Like, where do you tend to pull your inspiration from, just in general, when you're in your creative? Is it you're just listening to music and you hear a song, or is it, yeah, is that kind of mostly it for you?
Yeah, when I tell you, the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, I'm listening to music. Music
Mm,
has always been my passion. I'm not a musician. I've never really had the opportunity to learn or anything. And but listening to me, it's a connection. And I don't know, when I got into it, there's just something in my brain that just understood what you kind of need from music and how then you can interpret that. But yeah, for me, it's like I listen to a song and then I can just oh, you know what? And even if it doesn't work for me, like, I would then send it to other people and be like, okay, it's not for me, but you would be incredible, and this is what I
yeah.
envisioned, and then I kind of build it around that. So yeah, it's all about music, all about the music. I love it.
That makes sense, especially if you're listening to it that much. I'm really bad for listening to the same music on repeat. I really need to get out of.
Oh, I'm a creature of habit, and I have the playlist.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I have the playlist. It's
Yeah,
like, this is when I go to the gym. It's the music I always like. It just plays in the background. But like, if I'm looking for something new, I will go looking. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm really bad for just like, oh, I'll listen to this Fall Out Boy album for the 50 millionth time that I've listened to since I was 17. That's fine.
I just, yeah. I mean, I also do like the hyperfixation thing, and it's just like, this is the album that I can not listen to now for 6 weeks. And then, yeah, I always have my comfort music
hmm
to revert back to, but I do try and, like, explore. And but it's very much like I'm very much, like, drawn to, metal, rock. And I do try and have those elements where I can in my performances, because again, like, there's not that much
Yeah.
different variety of music and stuff, and I love it. And yeah, whenever I see another performer do, some kind of metal or something, I'm like, yes, and I get so excited. So I'm like, this is the music I love, and I know that you're cool. And uh yeah, but for me, it's just, I don't know, it's just something in my brain just clicks, and I go, oh, and
Yeah.
I've got at least 5 numbers that I'm planning to work on. It's just money. But I know that they're all going to work. They're all going to be, like, really cool. Um, but
It's an expensive hobby. But,
it really is.
it really is. I suppose, what are your kind of performance goals?
I mean, I'm kind of like, again, because this wasn't really an intention, I'm kind of just riding the wave and just seeing what my options are, what works, what doesn't, um, what is Merlin the Grey, what can I make Merlin the Grey. I think also because my health isn't very good, and I'm quite,
Mm,
I'm quite open that I do have ME, I do have fibromyalgia, and I've also got some other bits and pieces that my health, like when I started doing burlesque, I was relatively healthy and I had spoons. Something is going on, but I think I'm just in a really, really bad flare up. But it's lasted about a year and a half. And it's just kind of getting worse every month.
mm,
And I think it's because, yeah, we did have like a really nasty situation with the police, and then I also had like a break. It was a lot. So I think it was just that knock on, as well as the loss of my partner and everyone.
yeah,
It's only so many times you can keep coming back up. So I've been struggling a little bit. And I've noticed, a year ago I would do my performance and I'd do it fine, but then I'd start wobbling and I'd have a knock-on effect. But I've realized that wobbling is getting more severe for long.
mm,
And there absolutely needs to be a space for disabled performers to not feel like they have to mask. And
yeah,
where I'm kind of leaning more into like hosting, I'm very, very vocal. And yeah, I did a host thing in Lincoln a couple of weeks ago, and I did my Merlin lip sync, and then I picked up the microphone and I was visibly wobbling, and it's just, it's, but I don't want to try, and I'm not hiding it. So
yeah,
I just said to them outright, you're human beings, I'm a human being, you're an adult, I'm just going to speak to you on your level. I am a disabled person. I still have the right to be here. But then I made a bit of a joke about it. And I just said, and I've got, 6 vibration levels for your pleasure. And you are going to experience all 6 levels. Like or like it saves money on a toothbrush and all sorts of jokes. Um, but then I just said, but it just means that if I'm having a little bit of a wobble, you're just going to bear with me. And then they immediately started like howling and clapping, and
yeah.
and that was it. We were together through it.
Mm.
And
I think if you are honest with your audience, that's when they'll connect with you. And I think that's not just for talking, that's if you're honest in your performance. I think you can always tell, you kind of said earlier, like you want to connect with the person if they are connecting to their act. If
mm,
you can see that that person is kind of not in the moment, and I've done it, like I've not been in the moment, but if they're not there or they're not connected, maybe because they've made something just because they need to get booked, like you can tell.
yeah,
But if you're really honest and like connect with what you're doing, your audience definitely responds better to that. So yeah, it totally makes sense that they were like, yay.
yeah. I completely understand. And I did hide it for a while. I wasn't very vocal about it. And the other performers would see me backstage having a bit of a moment and stuff. But I realized that unfortunately sometimes I push myself a bit too far because I don't want to say no to bookings because you don't know when the next one's coming. And then like a couple of times I've finished a number and I've not been able to get off the stage without help and things like that. And it's just like there's no way that the audience aren't going to see this. So it's better to just explain on their level. Is like, this is why I do this, but you know
Hmm.
what, my noggin's still good and I can, I absolutely have the right to be here and I stand by my art. I'm just, I need to be scooped up afterwards sometimes. And I think there is a place for pride to have disabled performers, and I wish that there were more accessible venues because I struggle, and I do have the privilege that I can walk. It tires me up. I can with my stick, but I know that there's people that can find to a chair that just can't, and then they're not.
And London's quite bad for that, isn't it? 'Cause it's a lot of old listed buildings.
It is, and actually, that's one of the biggest problems we have at TM, and we're very, very lucky to have that space, and we are infinitely grateful for the landlady to allow us to have that space for free. Um,
Hmm.
but it does mean that it's not fully wheelchair accessible. We will work right, we
Mm.
will work around it, but it's not. It's absolutely not. And like for example, we had Crip Ladywood as one of our visiting artists, and Crip has been on the list for the longest time. We're just obviously just very aware that they are from Birmingham, so it's a fair old way. And then, you know, having to navigate their chair, because to get ready at the Oval, you have to go up some stairs, and the toilets are down some stairs. So you can sort of go around the sides, but you know, then you have to wait for the staff to be able to. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I videoed everything for them and sent it. And I said, this is exactly what will happen, and they agreed to it. And they were one of my favorite visiting artists ever, actually. But yeah, it's a huge problem, especially in London. Or the amount of times that I've even, you know, I've said in the form I do have some accessibility. My wife will be coming, and I've arrived, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we just got to go up these 2 flights of stairs." And you're just like, I get it, but also it's just nice to warn people,
Yeah.
because we would have
Just to let people be aware.
and or you know, just so I can prepare myself, because you know, with fibro and ME, it's all about pacing, it's all about spoons, and I have to reserve spoons going up to a show as well as then having to recover after. So if I knew that I had to go up and down 2 flights of stairs, then I would have reserved more energy to cope with that, or perhaps I would have changed the numbers I put forward to compensate, maybe some less high energy ones. So it's really important for people to be like honest about it. I did have one in Birmingham, and it was a gig, it was a private gig, and we arrived, and they're like, here's the changing room, not changing room, but like, this is where you're going to be changing. It was the office of the owner, and not half, maybe a third of this whole room was a cage with 2 macaws in it that were like screeching. You know, they're toddlers, like, you know, feathery toddlers.
Yeah.
And I personally, I love animals. Didn't really bother me. I must admit, the shrieking really did get a bit boring after a while. I was like, it's great. But my wife is really phobic of birds. And there was nowhere else we could change it. So they're like, just tell us. I know that this is a bit of a weird one, but please just tell us.
Just be honest about it and it's fine.
It's not a problem. But yeah, that was an interesting one. I've never shared a changing room with parrots before.
No, that's a new one.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very funny. Very good.
See, to be honest, at this point, the thing that most surprises me when I walk into a changing room is if it's big and there's mirrors and lights.
Like, people and just like, this is luxury. I've got a chair. I can actually like lay out my makeup. There's a mirror. What?
Yeah.
Like,
That's more surprising. I could walk in and it's literally a room covered, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But like,
that's what we used to, and it was just like,
then you
okay,
get space and you're like, oh, what will I do?
there's so much space for activities. Yeah, that was another one for Star Search. There, the changing areas were great. Yeah, they
Yeah, I
were
heard.
really, really good.
I heard that. So I suppose like you're relatively new to
Yes.
burlesque in the grand scheme of things. And it sounds like you've had quite a welcoming experience from like the wider community, which is lovely.
Yeah.
What, from your sort of relatively new experience, the new sort of headspace, I suppose, or viewpoint, what do you think needs to change in the scene or in the industry?
I mean, I think it's just with all of these things, we just always need to be willing to adapt, willing to
Hmm.
grow, willing to learn. And as much as I've certainly seen a change, and I do think that for the most part, producers are having a little bit more of a think about their lineups and stuff. I also, and I've had this conversation with many other people, we still see these cookie cutter lineups again and again and again. And the thing is, you know, there's more to diversity than what would immediately be seen. You don't know,
Yep.
you know, someone might have mixed heritage, someone might, you know, you can't tell necessarily someone's queer, you can't tell if they're disabled. It, but when you get to learn who these people are, so when you read the names and you go, no, actually, I do know that everyone is cis, I do know everyone's straight, I do know everyone's skinny, I do know everyone's white. It breaks my heart. because
Mm.
I do understand that, again, it depends where you are in the country, where you are in the world. And we're so blessed in Croydon that we are so beautifully diverse that we don't really need to think about it, because everyone is
Yeah.
so diverse that it just happens, which is incredible. But I do see some and I'm like, I just cannot fathom why this has happened, because I know that there are so many people in that area that would have done
Mm.
such a great job, but or it's the same people again and again and again and again, and it's just like, you know, I don't know, just mix it up a bit, because half the
Mm.
fun is seeing people do something a bit different, seeing people do and connecting with other people and getting to know new people. I just so yeah, sometimes I look at it and I'm just like, how has that happened? I don't what because surely at that stage you're actively trying to I just don't I, I don't know. And yeah, I just think variety and diversity is always sexy. It's always good. It's always
Yeah.
good. Never a bad thing. And there are so many fantastic artists out there that I know that aren't getting booked because of their um intersexuality, or their queerness, or their plus sized, or whatever. And it's just like, why can't people see through this?
Mm.
Art is art. This person is fantastic. Like, I just, yeah. So for me, I think just to keep growing and to learn and to be like, and to really make spaces for anyone and everyone to give this stuff a go, because I know that there's some talent that deserves to be so much bigger, but I know that there's something in the way, and it breaks my heart. I just
Yeah.
I personally, I just don't really see it. I just go, are you good or you're not good? Like, and
That's
most
all it should
people
be.
go to,
Are you entertaining? Do you make good art? Would I
yeah,
pay to see you? Yes.
yeah,
Doesn't really matter what your outer shell appears like.
it really doesn't. It really doesn't. And it breaks my heart. I just don't understand. But I do think things are getting better. And I know that there are a lot of conversations that are happening. And I think that's really good that those conversations
Mhm.
are happening. I also think, again, like, where I'm trying to, explore how I'm going to have to adapt as a disabled person, again, trying to really think about what accessibility really means. It's not always, do you have a ramp? And there's all sorts of different parts of the disabled community that also should have access to this, because it's just the best thing ever. And if it's something that interests you, you should be able to enjoy it. So yeah, that's what I would just say, just to keep developing and just but for the most part, I've just had a blast.
I love that. You're just like in love with it, and I think that's so nice.
Yeah.
It's like such a nice vibe.
Yeah.
Um, where can our followers and listeners and watchers find you on socials?
Good luck. So if you put in Merlin the Grey into Instagram, I will not come up. Instagram hates me, really. And I tried the TikTok thing. I got old and confused, and I gave up. But so if you literally type in, I think it's dot Merlin the Grey. That's when
It'll
I'll
come up.
up. That's when I'll actually come up. You have to be that specific about it, which is very funny.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, Betty Bombshell has the exact same problem.
Is she? It is funny. And one of the best ones I had was, my handle used to be Merlin underscore the dot grey, because there was already Merlin the Greys out there, but they're all like dogs, cats. There's one Staffy.
And then you're like, hi.
There's one poor Staffy that keeps getting tagged in burlesque posts. That's me. And I don't know, I followed this dog because I thought it was hilarious. And I even sent him a message, I'm so sorry this keeps happening. Like, we've just got really close. I think they are like Merlin dot the dot Grey, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it
Yeah.
was. But they ignored me. Like,
That is rude.
rude.
Should have teamed up.
Yeah. I can
The fuck?
imagine Daffy doing burlesque. I'd pay for that.
Ah, 10 out of 10. I'd buy the merch as well.
Yeah, oh
Crossover
yeah.
merch.
Boom.
I'm
Boom.
here for
Now,
it.
I do actually have a website, merlinthegrey.com as well. So I keep forgetting that's the thing. So I do have a t-shirt and some prints, and I've got more on the way when I have money.
Yay! Well, if people buy them, you'll have money.
Yes, yeah, yeah. My calendars did
Looking at
well.
everyone.
Calendars did well.
Good.
T-shirts, not as many as I'd like. So buy a t-shirt because it's got my butt on it.
Way. Everyone needs one of them. Well,
Everyone,
on that call to action, we shall leave. But this has been adorable, Merlin. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope we cross paths in person at some point.
yeah, and have the best time in Canada. I'm going to be
Thank
watching
you.
on the socials to see how that goes for you. I was absolutely
Thank you.
excited. And then yeah, I need to go finish my costume for next week because I do this every month. Every month I'm like, I'm going to rehearse. I'm going to do everything in time. Shows in 4 days. I've not even finished.
Well, I will let you get to that, but thank you so much, my lovely.
Been lovely. Thank you for having me. It's been an
No,
absolute
not a problem.
pleasure.
I'll see you later. Bye.